How do you not care what people think? What if somebody says something to you crazy on Instagram or TikTok? As a veteran of producing content and, dealing with the occasional nasty comment, I can let you know how I deal with it so that you can come to a place where you have a hater-proof brand. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time certified 7-figure online life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and I do all the things, and I've been doing all the things online for a very long time. Technically, I've been online since 2009. I've been blogging, doing social media since 2011, coaching since 2014, and I've been doing this full-time since 2016. So I have well over a decade of experience when it comes to showing up online. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how do you not care what people think? Because I get it, especially if you were watching this on YouTube, you know how terrible the comments can be. But really on any platform, right? What if somebody says something to you crazy on Instagram or TikTok, or some troll points out something about you or says something nasty? How do you not let those comments get to you? And so as a veteran of producing content and dealing with the occasional nasty comment, I can let you know how I deal with it so that you can come to a place where you have a hater-proof brand. All right, the first mindset that you'll want to adopt is actually something that one of my coaches told me recently, is to really see your social media and you communicating your message almost as if you were on stage, right? So you think about Beyonce, and right now I'm thinking about Beyonce because I live in Houston and she happens to be doing her tour here. And so everybody in my network is like, oh my goodness, I'm going to Beyonce's, concert this weekend, and that's what they're talking about. Well, I can tell you that when Beyonce does her concert this weekend, she is not going to get off stage and then hold the microphone up to every person in the audience and ask them what they thought about her performance, right? It will never happen. If you look at any artist or really anyone who communicates online and is a big name, they get on stage, they share their message, and then they get off stage, right? They get off stage and they focus on what they want to share next, making sure that they maintain their skill set and, their understanding. If they are a musical artist, obviously they're working on their craft and they're just really preparing and getting ready for the next time that they get on stage. And you want to think of yourself and your business really as no different. I think we have this false belief because everybody is so opinionated on social media that we have to make our messages open to the opinions of others. And that's not necessarily the case. If you're being a leader and you're showing up online and you're sharing your message and something that you believe in and that you want to share strongly, then do that. Be the leader and share it strongly, knowing that some people might love it, some people might hate it, some people might hate it today and then love it later. What other people think of you really is none of your business. What your job is to show up and shine. Now, I know you might be wondering, well, if I'm building an audience, I do want their feedback. How do I make sure that, I'm producing content that people enjoy, that I'm being helpful? How do I get the good feedback without necessarily taking in the really nasty criticism? And so what I like to do is gather the sentiments without the sting. And so what I mean by that is you really want to gather the feedback in a way where you depersonalize it. And I'll just be honest here, this is where having a team is really, really beneficial. And you don't necessarily need to, hire and have a whole staff. You can start with just maybe a virtual assistant who can kind of curate feedback for you. For instance, my virtual assistant, she will go through the comments on all of my social media platforms and create a spreadsheet that really kind of summarizes what are the general questions that people have, what types of content do they resonate with really strongly, what content do they not resonate with, or even just by the metrics and engagement, we're finding that, that's not really great. And if there is critical feedback that is valid, again, she can almost bring that to me as a report, right? Like, oh, we're seeing this over and over again, that this is being brought up. And so in general, we believe that the audience feels this way, right? It really takes the sting away because it's not a personal attack. When you're down there in the comments and, you're fielding every crazy thing that someone says to you. And again, you have to remember, you don't know where people are watching in from. And when I say where, I don't necessarily mean like where they are physically or where they are geographically, but I mean where they are mentally, where they are emotionally, right? Oftentimes, a lot of the comments that people leave really have nothing to do with you and has everything to do with what they personally are going on in their life. And so you want to make sure that you're kind of keeping, any comments that you get at an arm's length and really just soak up the sentiment, right? See how you can gather the sentiment. That way you can make sure that you are doing doing right by your audience and you're providing information that is genuinely going to be valuable for you, but you're not going to make yourself available for any of the stinging comments because that's not helpful for anyone. It's not helpful for them, right? Because it really just makes them an angry, nasty person, right? And it's not helpful for you because you don't want to be bombarded with that on a consistent basis. So set up systems, work with a virtual assistant to gather that feedback so that you can have the general sentiment, but don't make yourself available for the sting or any of those nasty barbs because it's really just unnecessary. All right, the next thing that really helps with not really worrying about what people think about you online is knowing your why and know why you do what it is you do. And again, this is helpful, especially with that last strategy that I shared in terms of gathering general feedback. For instance, there are times, especially on my podcast, where I get, a rude comment where someone is like, oh my goodness, can't you just get straight to the point? They don't know that I am being strategic. So yes, I am here to provide, helpful information for my audience, but I'm also here to develop a relationship with my audience. And I know that my audience can't develop a relationship with me if I'm not sharing a bit of my backstory, a bit of the behind the scenes, and I'm really sharing my mindset and my philosophy. In fact, I talk about this in depth in this video here, which is all around why your clients are not willing to pay what you are worth. And I talk about how oftentimes people are so focused on sharing their methodology that they don't really share their philosophy. And sharing their philosophy is so important to really get that buy-in for the audience. And this is important even from a sales standpoint, because if you are only speaking to people who just want the information, right? Just get to it faster. I call those almost like drive-by people, right? They don't really care about you. They don't really care about your brand. They don't really care about what you stand for. You're just like another talking head on the internet. They're just looking to grab the information and they could care less about you as the vessel per se. To be frank, those are not my best customers, right? If they even become customers at all, because oftentimes that is what I call a free people mindset, right? It's people who are just looking for free information that they can just grab and get out of there. But even if they are willing to pay for that information, they're commoditizing me, right? They're like, oh, I don't care about you or what is wrapped up in the information. I just care about the information. And people who are only looking for the information tend to only want to pay the lowest price. And so by design, I am almost repelling people who are not interested again in my brand, my philosophy, and what I stand for by structuring my content the way that I do. So I'm willing to accept those criticisms because I know why it is that I'm doing it. So you really want to make sure that you know your why. But sometimes it's not even that deep. Sometimes you just have to be okay with doing what you know you need to do, regardless of how anyone feels about it, because you know that ultimately your message is the most important part, right? And I think about this even just now because as I am here in my studio recording all of these YouTube videos, I thought it'd be fun to shoot a quick, talking head IG live. And so while I shoot these videos on my high def camera, I use my camera phone in order to shoot the Instagram video, and I did it up close. Now, I have very heavy makeup on right now because I know that I am recording via my high def camera. We have all of my lights and all of my equipment here. So my makeup is done a certain way so that it reads well on this particular camera, but I noticed that it wasn't reading necessarily as well on my camera phone. Now, while there's filters and different things that I can use to smooth it out, even if it doesn't show up to my liking, guess what? I'm still gonna publish that video because the information that I shared in that reel is really, really good. And so I'm fully aware that I might get nasty comments even on Instagram where people who are like, why is her makeup so thick? Why does it look like that? Again, I really don't care because I know my why. My intention was to share really valuable information. My makeup looks this way because I'm recording, content in my studio. I'm sorry that it didn't translate well on my Instagram video, but that's besides the point because the real point is get this information because it's going to be valuable to you. All right, I have more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. Do you struggle with the comments people leave about you online? Share in the comments below. All right, the next thing that you'll want to keep in mind is when you are sharing on social media, make sure you don't fall into the trap of seeking validation from social media, right? I'm not seeking validation from social media. I'm seeking to give value, okay? So seek to give value, not to get validation. And I know this can be very hard because, we almost see ourselves as a mirror in the eyes of other people, but that's a really dangerous place to be because people will often believe things about you based on how you see yourself. In fact, one of my coaches used to say, people don't see you through their eyes, they see you through yours. And so if you are in a place where maybe your confidence is a little shaky and you're constantly looking at the comments in social media to validate whether you're a good entrepreneur or whether your ideas are worthy, you're gonna find your heart broken every single time. For me, I know my value. I know my ideas are good. I know what I have to share. I like what I have to share. I'm really passionate about this topic and I know what my intention and what my heart is. So no, I am not seeking to get validation from social media. I'm genuinely seeking to give value. Therefore, I'm not looking for acceptance per se. I'm just looking for the ability to share what I have. And that leads me to the fifth thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that you'll want to cultivate real life community. I think part of the reason why we often slip into the habit of seeking validation on social media instead of seeking to give value is because we haven't done the work to cultivate a real community in our real lives. I am very fortunate because I have several successful entrepreneurial friends, and even my friends who aren't entrepreneurs, right? I have friends that I have had for years, right? For decades. Some are entrepreneurs, some are not, but these are people who know me, I know them. We have similar values. I know their heart. I know they care about me. I know they love me. And so if they give me feedback or if they give me criticism, I take that seriously because I know that this person knows me, right? Again, I have a community and I know that this person, if they're going to share some criticism, they're going to do it because they ultimately care about me. Again, you don't know where people are coming from when they're leaving comments online. You don't know what their, emotional state is. You don't know what they just dealt with. Maybe they just like broke up, with their boyfriend or girlfriend and now they're taking it out on you, and you don't know them and they don't know you, right? They know what you put out online, but they actually don't know you as a person. And so there's really, they really don't have a leg to stand on when they are sharing that criticism about you personally, right? They might be able to criticize your content. And again, that's where getting the sentiment without the sting is really important, because then you can have a general sense of what your audience thinks about your content. But when it comes to personal attacks on you, you can't really personally attack somebody that you don't know personally, right? But we forget that if we don't take the time to develop relationships with real people in real life who do know us personally and can be that sounding board and can be that place of feedback. So make sure that you're cultivating community. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this and you're ready to really show up powerfully online, then I invite you to join my signature coaching program, which teaches you how to do that exactly and how to do it from scratch. I literally give you like never shared before secrets that I use to build my coaching brand from scratch, to build it into a seven-figure business, without a community, without an audience initially, without any fancy tech or equipment. I mean, I did this from the ground up. And so if you want to know how I was able to do this and how you can do the same, you can learn more about this program by clicking the link in the description box. And if you're interested, you can apply, and if accepted, you'll be invited to an enrollment call with my enrollment team, and they will walk through the entire process with you. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video or my next YouTube video, make sure you're following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And also make sure you're following me on TikTok. It's also CourtneyLSanders on TikTok. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.